Hello everybody. In this lesson we will be studying about solving quadratic equations by completing the square method. In the previous lessons we have studied about solving quadratic equations by the method of factorization. In this lesson we will study how to solve by completing the squares. But before we even get to understand how to do that, let us first see the importance of this method and how it simplifies the method of solving quadratic equations. Let's take this example. Solve x plus 2 the whole squared minus 9 is equal to 0. Now this is a quadratic equation. We can solve this in the following way. Let's move the negative 9 on this side of the equal sign. So we will have x plus 2 the whole squared is equal to 9. Now we can take square roots on both sides. So if we take square root on both sides, then the square root and the square cancels over here. We are left with x plus 2 is equal to square root 9 is plus or minus 3. So there are two possibilities over here. X plus 2 is equal to 3 or x plus 2 is equal to minus 3. So over here x is going to be equal to 3 minus 2, x is equal to 1. Over here x is going to be equal to minus 3 minus 2, x is equal to negative 5. So the two roots of the equation are 1 and 5. It was very easy to solve this without the factorization method. And if you observe this problem, x plus 2 the whole squared minus 9. The term containing the x is completely inside the square. So when this happens, it becomes very easy for us to solve it in this way. So our objective then must be to take any quadratic equation and we should be able to write it in the form x plus a the whole squared minus b squared equal to 0. So if we are able to write any quadratic equation in this form, it will become very easy for us to solve it in this way. So the process of writing the quadratic equation in this form is called the completing the square method. And let us see how we go about doing that. Let's try to solve this by completing the square method. X squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Okay, look at the steps now. The first step in completing the square method is take half of the coefficient of x. What is the coefficient of x over here? It's 4. Take half of that, which is in this case is 2. So that's the first step. Take half of the coefficient of x. The second step is square this. And what does that become? 4. The third step is add this number and subtract this number on the same side of the equal sign. Now we are ready to go. So x squared plus 4x. Now we will add 4 and subtract 4. The one that we got in step 3. Then minus 5 remains as it is, equal to 0. Now in this, the first term is a perfect square, the third term is a perfect square, and the middle term is 2 times x times 2. So this is in the form a plus b the whole squared. So we can write this as x plus, the plus sign is because we have a plus sign here, and the square root of 4 is 2 whole squared. This can easily be factored now in this form. Then minus 4 minus 5 is minus 9 equal to 0. Now this has become like a previous problem where we can solve very easily. X plus 2 the whole squared equal to 9. Taking square root on both sides, we have done that. X plus 2 equal to plus or minus 3. So x is going to be equal to 1, or x is going to be equal to negative 5, which we have seen earlier. Previously I said it was 5, it's actually negative 5. So now we know how to apply the completing the square method for any quadratic equation. Let's try a couple of few more and we will get a hands-on on this method. Let's try this. Solve this quadratic equation by completing the square. 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 equal to 0. Now, before we even proceed to apply the method of completing the squares, let us make the coefficient of x squared as 1. In this case, the coefficient of x squared is 2. So in order to remove that 2 and make it as 1, we will divide every term by 2 on both sides. Of course, the value is not going to change. So now a new equation will look like x squared minus 5 over 2x plus 3 over 2 equal to 0. Now since the coefficient of x squared is 1, we are ready to move to apply the completing the square method. So what is the first step? Take half of the coefficient of x. Half of the coefficient of x. What is the coefficient of x over here? 5 over 2. So that's going to be 5 over 4. So what is the second step? Square this. So 5 over 4, when we square it, it becomes 25 over 16. What is the third step? Add 25 over 16 and subtract 25 over 16 on the same side of the equal sign. So then now we have x squared minus 5 over 2x plus 25 over 16 minus 25 over 16 plus 3 over 2 as it is equal to 0. Now this can be factored. For x squared, I will write it as x, and there is a minus sign, so we put a minus sign here. And coming to this term, square root of 25 is 5, square root of 16 is 4. So this becomes one factor. Minus 25 over 16 plus 3 over 2 is going to give you minus 1 over 16. By now you know how to add and subtract fractions, equal to 0. Now this becomes very easy for us to solve. Now we can easily solve this. We move the minus 1 over 16 on the other side, so it becomes x minus 5 over 4. The whole squared is going to be equal to 1 over 16. We take square roots on both sides of the equal sign. So the square and the square root cancels. We are left with x minus 5 over 4 is equal to plus or minus square root of 1 over 16 is 1 over 4. So there are two possibilities. X minus 5 over 4 is equal to 1 over 4, or x minus 5 over 4 is equal to minus 1 over 4. And in this case, x is going to be equal to 1 over 4 plus 5 over 4. X is going to be equal to 6 over 4. Simplify, 3 over 2. That's one root. In this case, x is going to be equal to minus 1 over 4 plus 5 over 4. X is going to be equal to 4 over 4. Simplify, which is 1. So the two roots of the equation are 3 over 2 and x equal to 1. So this is how you use completing the square method to find the roots of a quadratic equation. Great job. You're doing very good. You're taking the initiative in learning this lesson. I really appreciate that. And it's the same way you solve any type of quadratic equations. You can even take the quadratic equation problems from the previous videos and apply the same method in finding the values of x. So this was pretty short lesson. The only introduction was about completing the squares. In the following video, we will see how to solve the quadratic equation by another third method called the quadratic formula. So the problems are the same. The only thing is the methods are varying. So we can understand the different methods and apply the method to any of the problems of the quadratic equation. So good luck, great going, keep practicing. Only practice makes things easy. Thank you for watching this video.